Years ago, I met a girl named Clara on the internet. She was 27 years old at the time and I was 31 years old. We are both single divorced, both single parenting our children. Her son was almost 3 at the time, my daughter almost 7. I was a little confused at first by the difference in age and standards of living. I am an immigrant in England, albeit with citizenship, but with rented accommodation, recently out of debt after a divorce. And she has very wealthy parents and did not need anything, but she realized that it was not her merit and was very modest, which is what bought her. And she was very beautiful but also sad. We called and talked a few hours a day. She is on maternity leave. I work remotely to be able to take my daughter to school and sports. We met in October. After 3 months of such communication, we went to the sea with the kids. We had a wonderful 2 weeks and stayed in a family room. I noticed antidepressants in the safe. She said it was just in case she got sick, but she didn't say what with. Later, I found out she had some kind of disorder, depressive disorder. Later, I confessed my love to her. She reciprocated. Then we got together again. The 4 of us spent New Year's vacation together. I didn't want to play the long-distance game for too long. I had to think about the future. We started planning the next meeting for February. But it didn't work out that time. Clara wrote disturbing messages. That she couldn't take it anymore. She'd rather be with no one than constantly waiting for the hope of a hug for a couple days. She was in such a mood. She even asked me not to text her and deleted me everywhere. And she was prescribed other antidepressants after that. But still, if there was love between us, I had to see her. I was able to fly to her with my daughter. She was waiting for me at the airport. We spent 3 weeks together. A few days before we left, she started to fade away. I asked her what was wrong. She said she would be jealous of her daughter even though she had a normal relationship with her and most likely would not be able to live together, so it was useless to continue. Such a strange person. So we separated. She wrote 2 months later. She said that she worked through this topic with a psychologist and wants to resume our relationship. We did, but we didn't get together until 6 months later. Everything seems to be fine. We're making plans together again. I even thought to propose to her at the next meeting in a few months. But she ended up in rehab. A couple of months later, some old acquaintance of hers who once offered her sex and made a cry for someone to sit with him in a cafe at the train station because he was bored, and she responded because she was close to him and decided to rub his nose in it by telling him what a great relationship she has. This friend of hers posted a photo from the cafe and tagged her, and it showed up in my feed. She didn't say anything to me when we were talking about her day. I don't like her friends like that. I, perhaps harshly, gave her an ultimatum to which she said she didn't like being pushed so hard and principled, and she would not comply with his demands, and broke up with me. 2 months later, she wrote a big letter as a reflection that she regretted doing that. She broke everything and wished she could rewind and do things differently. We talked again for a month, met just the 2 of us, and I proposed to her. 2 months later, we met and got married. In order to live together, I asked her to prepare for the move. I recommended to my son to learn English, and she can finish some courses. It will come in handy in the future. I was alarmed by the situation that she could work at one job for up to a year and then change to another, either in sales or as an administrator in a hotel, or her father arranged it for her. She decided to move to a foreign country with a child and a history of severe depression. Finally, she and her son moved. Of course, no one prepared for anything I asked her to do. As a result, my son had a hard time at school. At first, it was impossible to give him to any sports clubs because he did not understand what they want him, even in the movies, to cartoons, not to go to the movies, not to play with children. After arriving, she began to take design courses, made an acquaintance one project, and said that this is not for her work. And in general, she doesn't want to work for her uncle. She wants to start something passive of her own, and for that she will sell her apartment. But her excitement was enough for 2 months of all sorts of ideas, business plans, but it all remained on paper. But this is all my retelling of events to understand the trend of our relationship. I love her madly. She is very affectionate, very tactile, with her just a great sex. She got along with my daughter when stable. She is very aware, caring, knows how to create coziness. In short, emotionally I was over the moon. And with my brain I was a little stressed. I had to rent a house for 4 people, not an apartment for 2. Even though I was pulling it all together, I was uncomfortable that I couldn't put aside a reserve of money like I used to, that it wouldn't be as easy now to travel somewhere for 4 people. To be fair, she came with some cash savings and said she wanted to put something into the household too, and she didn't need to give her any money for herself. A very significant stress point is that it is difficult for me to interact with her son. He was 7 years old at the time of the move. He is very spoiled and cranky, and in terms of food too. If Clara didn't give him what he asked for, he could hit her or leave, slam the door and cry, "Why is his life so bad and why does he have to be here?" Nevertheless, I had a couple conversations with him and weaned him off slamming doors from concerts and lashing out at people. We cooked fish and meat with him a couple times and he started eating them. But her inconsistency in parenting was still getting through. For example, Clara tells him to change his clothes after the street and he takes the game console and starts playing, ignoring the request. And she says nothing and goes about her business. I point out to him, "What did your mom just tell you?" He runs off and does it. From my point of view, I am on Clara's side and support her rules, but from her point of view, she feels that I am hurting the baby, that before bedtime he tells her that he is afraid of me and that she has changed and has become angry too. And this despite the fact that he and I could spend hours building something in the game during the day and there was no hint of fear from me. Where we were splitting up again was school and my daughter's training. She is a successful competitor and has 5 practices a week. I would pick her up from school and take her straight to practice. And from the gym we would come home in the evening because I was also training. So she and my son are on their own during the day at home. Clara used to ask me why I didn't hug him like a dad or grandpa. I told her that I was neither a dad nor a grandpa and that I had contact with him nonetheless. We could wrestle or pull him across the carpet by his leg, jokingly pushing him into the cushions somewhere on the couch. She wanted me to play with him more and speak affectionately, less strict. I told her it wouldn't work that way. One day Clara asked me to set up a meeting with a psychologist for the 2 of us. She wanted to get to the bottom of it. She wanted to start with the question, "What is family to you?" I thought we were going to deal with a specific question, but it turns out she was already globally tired. This is where I learned that she didn't like that I didn't fall asleep with her. She'd go to bed early, and I had a lot of things to do. Or let's say she'd like to go to the store together on Sunday. What's stopping you from saying that before? It was June. She started to get anxious and her counselor upped her medication. She brought up the fact that her son is very unhappy here, that he complains to her about everything. And she has a lot of guilt towards him. Said she wanted to take her son home for 2 weeks to her relatives and her son's dad before school started. He misses his relatives and she will be back quickly. She may have realized at this point that she wasn't coming back, but I think she was genuinely contemplating the possibility of leaving the child with his father for a while. That thought was sitting in her head. A remark to a child from a stranger's uncle she considers a burden, as she probably thinks sometimes, is quite different from a loving father's remark. On the day of their flight, as soon as I picked up my daughter from school and took her to practice, remembering her departure, I intercepted her on the way to the airport. I saw her off, nothing unusual in her tone, hugged her a lot as usual, told her I would see her in 2 weeks, either the 2 of them or she would come alone. Then I realized I had too many suitcases around her for 2 weeks. Came home, realistically she had only left things that she may not come back for. She called as she flew in. I told her about the stuff and that there was no way I could find a goodbye note. She rolled her eyes playfully and still said she'd be back in 2 weeks. For a week we talked as usual, then she said that her son likes it here so far, but she can't leave him for daddy because his new wife is pregnant and they don't have time for him. I suggested we discuss this together with her counselor since that was his plan. In the morning she said no one needs her son at all but her and that she has to stay. I said that family for me is her and her son and me and my daughter, and that I needed everyone. An hour later I got a text. She wrote that she wanted a divorce. To end the official marriage we'll need a power of attorney from both of us, just like when we were married. We had no further contact. It's hard for me because I was in love at the time of the separation. No one had done anyone any trouble and did not wish it. She has always had the option to tell me exactly how she likes to be loved in a relationship. When she is not stable, she would just put me in front of the decision she made. But now I think the old scenario will not happen again. If before she broke up and then asked to resume the relationship again because there was a prospect of marriage and life together, now she tried it all and she did not like it. It's not about the son, it's more about her. The breakup she completely initiates and pushes me away on her own. To distract myself, I was doing some cleaning and noticed that she left her engagement and wedding rings in the boxes I gave them to her. Our wedding photo the day she proposed divorce removed from social media. Turns out she was already planning the divorce. And I have to communicate with her on the paperwork. I think in 2 weeks when she steps away mentally, she will enjoy freedom and socializing with family and friends. I don't know how to proceed. There's no point in talking about anything anyway. Yes, there's no point. The most logical thing to do is to just silently send her the power of attorney she asks for. And I'm a bit downbeat about my prospects. I really want a family and a child together in this complete family, while I still have the strength to play actively with children. Oh, and I don't think Clara would have agreed to be pregnant. She was on the drug and she has health problems. That's the kind of reckless move I made. I didn't really get to know the person I planned to spend my life with.